Hey everyone, so One Piece chapter 1029 just came out, and this was yet another great chapter. In my opinion, I think that this was actually the second best fight in Onigashima. I don't know if that's controversial or not yet. I haven't really seen people's opinions. And, it wasn't really that much of a typical One Piece fight. It obviously didn't have as much of, I guess, exchanging of attacks as, say, Frankie versus Sasaki. But I think at least, let's say this. This confrontation between Killer versus Hawkins, I'd say that Killer versus Hawkins as a scene, I think that this was my second favorite, battle chapter of, any Onigashima 1v1 so far. So, before we get into that, let's just talk about this chapter from the top down. I think Sanji first. So, Sanji's situation running away from Queen, I'd say, let's see where it goes, what Oda's purpose is exactly for it. It does seem like it's just to move Sanji to a different part of the battlefield. I think it maybe could have, I don't know, it does feel like a little abrupt that Sanji in the middle of basically fighting to defeat a Yonko commander while there are lots of his allies and such in the area that probably really need him to defeat this commander, that Sanji would run away. But at the same time, obviously from Whole Cake Island, we understand how traumatic all of this potentially could be for him, having to transform into something he's not. And in this case, Sanji is literally worried that he's going to lose his emotions. So, it's not necessarily that he's running away. It's more like, I guess he says he needs time to think. I don't know. I think if the goal by Oda was to get Sanji to a different location to fight Queen, then obviously that goal is accomplished. The way he's doing it feels like a little forced or a little strange with the way Sanji's reaction is, but I think let's see how it plays out from here. Basically, we need to hear a little bit more from Sanji, because if Sanji in his mind knows that Queen's gonna chase after him, I'll just say that if Sanji knows that Queen's gonna chase after him, then it's like, all right, understood. On the flip side, if it's like if that's not really going through his head, then he did kind of just leave a lot of people out to dry, with the second strongest of Kaido's subordinates just going wild in the live floor. But the point is, Queen is following him, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, right? No, anyway, Kid versus Law, or not Kid versus Law, that'd be fun. Kid and Law versus Big Mom, which obviously is really just an offshoot right now from Killer versus Hawkins, right? Because what's going on with Kid and Law versus Big Mom, I like the fact that at the very least, Big Mom is not being pushed around, like she so often is throughout this. I think the last time that she was not on the roof, she was being rolled literally to the shores of the island by Jinbei and Robin. So I like seeing her in this chapter, obviously seeming a lot more capable. Law by himself can't do anything to her. She easily shrugs him off. And she has Law and Kid basically, on the ground. Now, obviously Kid can't really fight back. I like the level of self-awareness I think I'm seeing in this chapter with some of the quotes. Kid being called dead weight. Kid saying his life as a pirate would be a joke if he can't win this. So I feel like there is some degree by Oda of, some degree of self-awareness by Oda, in terms of, I know that Kid has not been great so far. I know he's not lived up to what a lot of us felt the expectations for him were, but Oda's aware of that, I think, right? And this is still just further set up before Kid can have his sort of moments and sort of shift opinion back and really show us who he is. So let's wait and see on that, right? I think that this chapter alone, I think, even if you're a Kid fan, it makes him look bad, but at the same time, I think you should have a positive outlook after this, because it does show that Oda is clearly aware that Kid is viewed by many as dead weight, and aware that many view him as a joke, as a rival to Luffy so far. So let's see what Oda has in store for him. Obviously, this is kind of getting the Hawkins handicap out of the way. So lastly, Killer versus Hawkins, the main part of the chapter. I think part of the reason I really liked it was, okay, let's say first, I like just in terms of their dialogue and conversation, I like that scene a lot. I think I think we all know that in recent times we haven't had, because so much cutting around and so many characters. There's not that many chapters where we get to just focus in on one extended piece of dialogue. I really like that for this chapter, and reading Killer and Hawkins exchange, you can draw like soft little similarities to two similar scenes that we had recently. So one was basically Kid and Apu, right? And I like this among the supernovas that are not Luffy and Zoro. I like this seeing this from the other supernovas, because these are the guys that kind of have a greater, they're more in tune with how the world works and kind of the levels to all of this. So the other supernova, Kid talking to Apu or Killer talking to Hawkins, they're going to be discussing more like, you guys can't win. You understand that these guys are the Yonko. That's why we made the decisions we did. And Kid and Killer obviously disagree with that. But I like getting that sort of back and forth and acknowledging like the decision points that they each had and kind of the differing paths that they chose to go down based on how the level that they essentially believed in themselves to be able to take down Kaido and Big Mom. Right. Speaking of which, I wonder if we're going to get to check in on Apu in next break. I don't know. But besides that, so I like that aspect of it. And then I also like the aspect that we're getting to see the strong parallels that Killer has to Kid in terms of Zoro to Luffy. I think many others did not expect Killer to be. I'm sorry if I keep mixing up the names Kid and Killer. I think I've kept it straight so far, but they're kind of similar names. So I think that Killer's parallel to Kid and Zoro's parallel to Luffy, I felt it full force this chapter, with even getting a nice little callback I felt to the Zoro and Kuma scene, with Zoro saying, if you need to take Luffy, please take my life instead. Killer saying the exact same thing to Hawkins. I really, really like that, right? I think that just, it solidifies Killer as, like a worthy number 2 to Kid. Obviously, he's been a worthy number 2 to Kid. Honestly, Kid hasn't been the worthy number 1 so far, but I think that from Killer's introduction, I think, all the way back in Sabaody, I don't remember that many people being that impressed by him just because his abilities seem basic and such. But then over the course of the New World, and particularly in the Onigashima battle, like Killer has continued to surprise and impress, and generally he's always been that sort of level-headed, smart figure right by Kid's side, and here he kind of shows that that sort of strength of will and devotion and loyalty that you would want to see by Kid's side, the same way, if this guy's the counterpart to Zoro, that's exactly the same stuff you'd want to see. So I really liked this whole chapter for Killer, and I liked the entire exchange that these two characters had, because it did just flesh out sort of their point of views and the different way that they approach this battle towards, rising to the top of the pirate world. So I enjoyed all that. And then I think in terms of the actual battle aspect, it felt a little bit like a JoJo's fight. If you follow that series whatsoever, JoJo's fights are a little different. Yes, there wasn't as much, back and forth physical fighting as you might get in, say, like Frankie versus Sasaki. The actual action here was pretty quick, but it did feel, more, maybe it's a little bit because Hawkins has this giant floating strawman figure. It feels a little bit like a stand. If you know JoJo's, that stands are essentially manifestations of your spirit that take physical, often humanoid form that can create sort of interesting dilemmas based on their abilities that have certain rules and conditions that go with them. So in this case, Hawkins, any damage done to him will go straight to Kid, which makes it impossible for Killer to actually, do damage to Hawkins without attacking Kid. So Killer therefore has to come up with a little loophole, much like a JoJo's fight, as to, okay, how can I figure out a way around your ability, or a weakness of the ability, or a condition under which the ability wouldn't work or backfire, etc. So in this case, I think especially because Hawkins maybe isn't as expecting Killer to fight back, Killer is easily able to cut off his arm. Not to say that Hawkins would have beat Killer regardless, but because Hawkins has no idea that Killer is going to actually fight back, Killer is able to easily take his arm. And then after that, then we get to more straightforward combat. So, Killer's realized that, well, now you have no more damage to disperse. Kind of is able to just cut the strawman in half. This poor strawman hasn't really had a really strong series of wins or successes in the past. But, strawman defeated, and then Hawkins himself is cut down. So overall, actually, it was the battle portion of it was really quick, but let me say the Hawkins versus Killer as a chapter, as a scene, I think I really, really enjoyed. I think I will talk a little bit about Hawkins in my next video that comes out this Tuesday. And then lastly, we have Hawkins pulling out the card, his final card, his prediction for the battle, which is the Tower. I did look up the Tower immediately afterwards. The Tower basically means like some sort of devastating, catastrophic event. And then potential for, like it said in the text, basically potential for a new path or change. So, I don't know. Let's wait and see. You guys know where I stand, but let's wait and see. And I think that, was there anything else important from this chapter? No, just that I feel like Hawkins has never gotten to draw the best card in his deck. All right, that's my main. I want Hawkins. I'll save it for the next video, but Hawkins was low-key like the supernova I was looking forward to for the longest time. I like to believe that there's more to see from Hawkins, and I like to believe that we have not seen everything that his deck, his tarot card abilities can do, but maybe we have, and maybe this was just the end of it. So that's all for this video. If you enjoyed, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all later.